Hello everyone, here we're going to take some more time today to practice factoring. Really important skill. So you might have noticed in the previous lesson there was this, more practice if you need it heading, and then after that there was a bunch of pages of factoring, tons and tons of them. So any one of these, just pick and you can do it, right? So if I was in person in a class, I'd say, hey, which one do you want to do or whatever. If you have any requests like that, send me a screenshot of it and I'll put up a video factoring the one you want. So let's just pick some here. I'm going to pick this one, lucky number 13. Anybody superstitious? I'm not. So 7 and 6, right? Your end numbers, we're picking those, and we're going to pick factors of 7. So 7 and 1, I was a little bit strategic there. I was kind of hoping it'd be a little bit of an easier one to start because that's a prime number. There's no other options, right? For the 6, I'm going to guess this. Yeah, probably the 3 and the 2. Probably the 3 and the 2. Obviously, or the 6 and the 1, but I'm just looking at how the numbers would combine. And anyways, we'll try it. Okay. So if we went straight across, let me move this over here actually so that I can have my stuff beside like I've done. I'm running out of room on the side of the page here. So if I went straight across, I'd have 21. Straight across, I'd have the 2. And I got lucky and had them in the right order. It could have happened another way. I didn't really plan that out. I did plan out picking the 7 because I knew I wouldn't have to worry about picking too many different factors and having to try again as a first one. But those add to be 23, right? And so because we want a minus 23, we just need them both to be negative. We weren't really thinking about negatives here, were we? Right? That's a positive, but that's okay. If they're both negative, these are both negative, the result's negative, we're good to go. Okay? So then that means that this factors to be a 7x and a 1x. I don't need to write the 1. And then, as I showed before in orange, if we need the 7 to be able to multiply onto the 3 to get a 21, then we need the 7 to be able to multiply onto a 3. In this case, of course, a negative 3, because we decided everything had to be negative, right? So negative 3 and negative 2. So that one is factored. Done. Nailed it, right? Anyways, let's keep going. So let's go back to that very first one. If we're looking at 15 and 45. So let's try like 5 and 3, and let's stick with the 5. So maybe 5 and 9, right? Kind of hoping it doesn't work first try this time because, you get to see that you just have to try again, right? But let's see what happens. 25 and 9 times 3 is 27. I think. Let's just check numbers. I'm joking, but you want to make sure to use a calculator and get the right numbers if needed, of course, right? So the 5 times the 3 is more obvious. The 45, let's divide by 5 and confirm that one. And then, the 9 times the 3 and, all your numbers, right? So if you check that and then you add those and you get what here? 25. Oh my gosh, it worked. First try again. Honestly, just by chance as to what order these are lined up. If they had been lined up the other way, I would have had to do a crisscross multiplication to get them lined up. It'll happen eventually in our examples. I'm not that lucky all the time. Usually the opposite for sure. So 5x, 3x, and so the 5 has to be able to multiply onto a 5. So let's make it multiply onto a 5. So that's your 5 and your 9. Right? Let's pick another one here. Let's do this one. So 8. I'm going to try and get it wrong first try here. 18 and 8. Be careful what I wish for. I might end up having to do 6 tries, but I'm going to go 8 and 1 and 9 and 2. All right. So if I multiplied straight across, I would get 8 times 9 is 72. And 1 times 2, I'm not going to use a calculator for that one, but I got it wrong first try. Just kidding. Just a typo. Add that up, get 74. So clearly not right, right? Notice there is a negative in here though, right? So we'd have to have, I guess, both of them because that's a positive. We'd have to have both of them be negative, which would be both negative, it's still not right. So as another try, let's do a crisscross. What color do I want to do for crisscross? Let's use black. So a crisscross multiplication would give me a 9 and a 16. So then we add those up, and wow, I got kind of lucky here actually. So that ends up being 25, right? With both of them being negative, it will be the negative 25. It's pretty common for the numbers to be the middle of the road. So I chose 8 and 1, hoping it would be the wrong set of numbers, to be honest. But I kind of got lucky again. I haven't gone through these recently at all, so there's no chance of me remembering them. I just do it from scratch and see what happens, right? So if I had chosen the 4 and the 2, I would have had to start again and try different factors, which my next guess probably would have been 8 and 1 for the 8, right? So in this case, we need the 8 needs to multiply on a negative 2. And so the 8 needs to multiply on a negative 2. And then the negative 9 would just have to be in the other spot. Okay, so this just takes practice. Get to the point where you can just tackle it as you go, right? It's particularly annoying when you have even bigger numbers. I'll show something next actually here for that point of view here. Here we have like uglier numbers, right? That we'd have to deal with, 45 and 63. It's a negative 63 actually. So we have to deal with those, I think, unless something can pull out. This one jumped out at me here though, where we have a 28, a 46, and a 16. Well, you can factor out at least a 2 from that, and then that would give what, 48. Like I suspect we can just factor out even more, but you just use a calculator and see what happens, right? So a 2 would, if we did it one by one, I guess, factor out a 2 from each one. This is just your common factoring that we did recently, right? So that would give us 14x squared and negative 23x and 8. I think that actually is all that comes out. I was just kind of thinking maybe another 2 would have factored out. But instead of looking at factors of 28 and 16, now we only have to look at 14 and 8, which is just a little easier, right? There's a little smaller numbers to work with. So you can easily think of like 7 and 2. Let's try 7 and 2 and 4 and 2, see what happens. Might be 8 and 1 or something else, but let's just see what happens. So multiply straight across, I'm going to get 28 and 4. And I'm combining with those. Notice I do have a negative in the middle here. So I need to have double negative, so I still end up with a positive 8 from that original positive 16. Add those together, I'd get 32, which I remember seeing that as a student actually. 32, I'm like, I wanted 23, so close, but being opposite doesn't actually make it close, of course. So that didn't work. I suppose I should, for the record here, put the minuses in. And let's then go crisscross, see what happens. So if I crisscross this thing, I'm going to, first of all, lock this in place so I can copy and paste things better. Bear with me here. All right, so this guy here, let's move it over here as well so I can have some room to do the other try here. So the crisscross version of pairing of numbers gives me an 8 and a 14, which if they're both negative, as we know, the A and B, it's going to give us 26 from there, so 22, right? And that feels like it's so negative 22. I feel like I might have made a mistake somewhere, but I'm going to keep forging ahead for now. Maybe it'd be a good time to just double check everything, right? Factor out 2, factor out 2. Yeah, I think I'm good. All right, so let's try other numbers then. So let's try 14, 7 and 2, and for 8, let's do 8 and 1. Only a certain number of possibilities, right? So eventually you come across them. If it's factorable, of course, not everything is factorable, but let's try it. So we have a 7 and an 8, and a 2 and a 1. So one of those numbers that's sort of in the middle of the times tables, it's a little harder to memorize, so I would tend to use that one, use a calculator for that kind of thing. But of course, some people have that memorized, but I'm just showing it's okay if you don't, right? So you have 56. Now again, we need to have minuses, so we'd have a minus 54. Let's try a crisscross again and end up with 16 and 7. And so we're adding a 16 and a 7, 4 from the 7 to get 20. There's our 23. Minus 23, check. Right? As soon as we see that minus 23 that we know we're looking for from the factored out version, we know we've got the right numbers. So 2, and then what do we have? We have a 7 and a 2, so 7x, and 2x, and then we know the 7 has to be able to multiply onto a 1. 7 has to be able to multiply onto a 1. So put the 1 in place. In fact, it's not a plus 1 though, is it? Minus 1. And have minuses in both cases. I should put those in here. Minus and minus in order to be able to get that minus in the middle. So yeah, so a minus 1. And the other number was a minus 8. And we're done. Okay, so there's just a few to show from scratch, you know, that factoring process, and you have another day to practice away at that and post for help if you need. The practice sheet at the top that I want you to do and submit has common factoring in it as well, which has already been done in previous lessons. So I didn't cover that one today. I'm focusing more on that new method. Yeah. So just want to point out looks like you might look like there's spaces there, but that is a multiplication there and a multiplication here and so on. It's just from where I had where I grabbed the program I used to make the quadratic easily sort of was have a little bit of a space on me. All right. So hopefully that gives you some confidence approaching these factoring questions, and confidence in the method that I'm showing you is just pretty easy. You just choose the n numbers, choose factors, look for multiplication pairs. Just have to get the results to add up to the middle. All right. So I hope someone posts some questions for it so I can, do some videos that you want to see the answers of. Help you out best I can. All right. All for now.